Hello and a very warm welcome. Thanks for tuning in to News 9 Live. I'm Kabir Naqvi and you're watching the special broadcast of top stories from our studios here in the National Capital Region. An expansive list of stories for you to cover, but before that, a complete lowdown of all the top global stories that we're tracking for you at the moment. All right then, first and foremost, shifting our focus to the United States because the far-reaching impact of the West Asian conflict, and we're seeing it across the nation, specifically in college and universities. In the latest clash at colleges and universities across the United States, demonstrators clashed with authorities over tents and canopies that they had erected, violating school policies. 25 people were arrested, reportedly trespassing at the University of Virginia after police clashed with pro-Palestinian protesters over there. Arrests came as protesters refused to remove tents from the campus. Student demonstrators began their protest on a lawn right outside the school chapel.
State police have officially moved in on this encampment and are taking their umbrellas as of right now. They are moving them back. There has been gas that has been sprayed. We don't know if that is tear gas, but you can see that there's been gas that has been sprayed.
Now, protests were also seen at the University of Michigan, where demonstrators chanted anti-war messages and waved flags during commencement ceremonies. Over 2,400 people have been arrested in at least 61 incidents since the 18th of April. Protesters demanding universities to cut ties with Israel or supportive companies have prompted agreements at some schools to cease demonstrations, averting disruption during finals and graduations. Now on May 3rd, demonstrators at Columbia University's Hamilton Hall had unfurled a banner with the word Intifada. The White House then labeled the term as hate speech, referring to major Palestinian uprisings against Israeli control, including the first Intifada from the 1987 to 1993 and the second from 2000 to 2005. Meanwhile, students and pro-Palestinian protesters took to the streets around New York University earlier in the weekend to protest the ongoing conflict between Israel and the Palestinian Islamist group Hamas, as well as police actions against the protesters. The New York Police Department cleared the NYU student encampment on Friday as the day began at the university in downtown Manhattan. According to media reports, many of the protesters were asleep when the operation began. Later in the morning, cleanup crews were seen taking down tents and chairs and scrapping up the remains of the protest signs. Local media reported that around 13 arrests were made on the streets of New York, particularly on Friday. Similar crackdowns have taken place at universities across the country, from Arizona State to Virginia Tech and from Ohio State to Yale University. Police have arrested around 2,400 campus protesters so far. Meanwhile, not just the United States. Police in Paris entered France's esteemed Sciences Po University and evacuated student activists who had occupied its premises in protest against Israel's action in its war with Hamas in Gaza. Sciences Po has emerged as the focal point of French student demonstrations over the war and academic relations with Israel, which have spread throughout France but have remained considerably smaller in scale compared to those witnessed in the United States. Now, Sciences Po University was closed for the day on Friday, with a heavy police presence around its main buildings.
I'm here because the riot police removed me. They dragged me out and they had me come here. But I'm here to denounce the ongoing genocide in Gaza, because I want to show my solidarity with the Palestinian people, and because I want this movement to spread to all the campuses. Tolbiac, Clignancourt. We saw the campuses protesting in France, and that's what we are fighting for.
Hundreds of university students gathered in Havana as well earlier in the weekend, all in a pro-Palestinian rally, while denouncing the United States for its police crackdown on students and professors at universities in the neighboring country. During the demonstration held at the University of Havana, the students called for a ceasefire to Israel's military campaign in Gaza amid escalating tensions on U.S. campuses, resulting in student arrests and class suspensions. The pro-Palestinian protests in the Caribbean nation coincide with a period of heightened political tensions between Washington and Havana, with Cuba facing an economic crisis marked by shortages of essential goods, including food and medicine. Now, this particular pro-Palestinian protest, attended by American students in Cuba, is among several solidarity demonstrations in support of the Palestinian cause.
Cuba sabe bien de la solidaridad. Esta escalinata sabe bien de la solidaridad y de la lucha estudiantil.
U.S. students right now, they will be energized, and they are energized, seeing solidarity from people all over the world. And we realize that we're all in this together. It's tough to deal with intimidation. It's tough to deal with your future being at stake. But when you know it's worth it, it means a lot to see somebody from across the world tell you, like, hey, we support you.
Para mostrar el apoyo a los estudiantes de las universidades de Estados Unidos, para mostrar que los estudiantes en cualquier parte del mundo están juntos, unidos, al frente de estas fuerzas de Estados Unidos y de Israel.
All right then. Considering that the United States is 9.5 hours behind, it becomes a little bit tricky in terms of bringing you real-time updates. But watch on News 9 to bring you all the latest when it comes to the campus storm over Gaza. We're slipping into a quick break. Lots more coming right on the other side. Keep watching News 9 Live.
You were the chosen one to direct Mr. Bachchan for his first endorsement, for his first appearance on the small screen.
It was a life-changing moment.
Have you been a rebel with a cause?
There was a sense of responsibility, there was a sense of frustration.
Are you worried about cancel culture?
You tell a story with a fierce psychosis, you're gonna spoil it anyway.
This and more. Streaming on News 9 Plus. Subscribe and get free vouchers.
जानना है तो देखिए, समझना है तो सुनिए, सीखना है तो पूछिए, और कमाना है तो खरीदिए। जानकारी, सलाह और निवेश सब एक ही सुपर ऐप पर। पैसे का सवाल है तो जवाब है Money9। आजादी पैसे की, अभी डाउनलोड करें।
All right then, welcome back. You're watching News 9 Live from the United States, shifting our focus to the United Kingdom, where Britain's opposition Labour Party won a parliamentary seat in Northern England on Friday and control of several councils, inflicting heavy losses on the governing Conservatives to pile more pressure on Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. Here's a complete report. Take a look.
The people of Blackpool South have spoken for Britain.
Britain's opposition Labour Party claimed a big early win against Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and his governing Conservative Party in local elections on Friday.
Well, Mr. Speaker,
the victory echoes recent polls which indicate the beginning of the end of 14 years of Conservative rule and of Sunak's leadership.
We've got a billionaire Prime Minister.
Labour inflicted heavy losses on the Conservatives, securing a parliamentary seat in the northern English town of Blackpool and gaining control of several councils.
I declare that Christopher Paul Webb is duly elected as the Member of Parliament for the Blackpool South constituency.
The results set the tone for what will be 2 closely watched days of local results before a national election later this year. Labour leader Keir Starmer is steaming ahead of the Prime Minister in most opinion polls, which seem to show an appetite for change in the UK. He spoke in Blackpool after the win there on Friday.
It is a fantastic result, a really first-class result. And here in Blackpool, a message has been sent directly to the Prime Minister directly to the Prime Minister, because this was a parliamentary vote. This was directly to Rishi Sunak to say we're fed up with your decline, your chaos and your division, and we want change.
Voters cast their ballots on Thursday for more than 2,000 local authority seats across England and a handful of high-profile mayoral elections, including in the capital, London. Blackpool South was the only parliamentary seat up for grabs after the Conservative lawmaker there quit over a lobbying scandal.
The first flight will leave in 10 to 12 weeks.
British leader Sunak had hoped announcing increased defence spending and passing his divisive plan to send illegal asylum seekers to Rwanda might win over voters.
We are ready. Plans are in place.
But the losses could again fuel calls for him to step down.
It is now time.
One polling expert told Reuters that, based on the results so far, the Conservatives could be looking at their worst local election results for 40 years, and were on course for a defeat in the national election.
Voting this bill through Parliament today.
Now, what does Labour victories in key United Kingdom mayoral polls mean for Rishi Sunak? Take a look at this, ladies and gentlemen. Britain's Labour Party won the mayoral polls in London and central England on Saturday. The results have dealt a hefty blow to Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's unpopular Conservatives. The wins are Labour's latest in local elections to these local councils. And Conservative West Midlands Mayor Andy Street lost to his Labour opponent Richard Parker. Conservative members of Parliament may seek Rishi Sunak and the National Party as having destroyed a successful and popular mayor in the West Midlands, who was credited by many with boosting the region's economy. Results could fuel fresh calls for Sunak to step down, like we've seen and heard already. Opinion polls, well, they predict that Labour will win the next national election. And Rishi Sunak had been counting on getting an electoral boost from the recent announcements, both these announcements on defence spending and the progress of his plan to send asylum seekers to Rwanda. Well, all of that not really helping out the Prime Minister of United Kingdom at the moment. Now, like we just told you, Sadiq Khan was re-elected as London's mayor, further solidifying the Labour Party's dominant position over the governing Conservatives in local elections, preceding Britain's national vote later this year. Speaking shortly after the results were announced, Sadiq Khan expressed that Londoners are eager for change.
It really isn't about making history, it's about shaping the future of our city. It's humbling that the city that's given so much to my family, I'm able to serve. And it's about making sure that we address the everyday problems, like the cost of living crisis, making sure we provide free school meals for our kids, build record numbers of council homes, and continue to have clean air in our city. It's really important we carry on delivering. What excites me the most this year is the chance of working with a Labour government. And the message from this election in London and across the country is it's time for Rishi Sunak to call a general election.
An honour to be re-elected for a third term, and to do so with record levels of support from Londoners, with an increased margin of victory. But today's not about making history, it's about shaping our future. A future where our children can be nourished with free school meals and breathe cleaner air, where all Londoners are given the support and helping hand they need to fulfil their potential. For the last 8 years, London has been swimming against the tide of a Tory government. And now, with a Labour Party that's ready to govern again under Keir Starmer, it's time for Rishi Sunak to give the public a choice.
All right then, shifting our focus here. Latest from the Trump's hush money trial. Now, Hope Hicks, a former top aide to Donald Trump, testified, saying that Donald Trump told her in the final days of the 2016 presidential election to deny that he had a sexual relationship with porn star Stormy Daniels. Listen in.
The government DOJ, etc. And in particular, lately, this office of DA, which is letting crime, violent crime, run rampant all over our city. What they've done to people in my company, they've been after us for years. You take a look at what's happened, years. The Democrats, the radical left, they've been after us for years, and they've destroyed people's lives. They've gone out, hired lawyers, they've been with lawyers for years, been sucked dry. And it's a shame. It's a shame what they've done to this country. And it's a shame what they've done to a lot of great people that have been absolutely ruined and destroyed, not only here, all over. These are vicious, radical left lunatics. The DA here is Soros backed. They shouldn't be wasting time on this. Look what they do to so many people. They're all lawyered up. That's all they do, lawyer up. In the meantime, you can't do anything in the country. The country's going to hell.
All right, then time for a quick commercial breather here. Lots more coming right on the other side. Don't go anywhere.
India produces between 1,500 and 2,000 films every year, the highest for any country. But they get ignored at international awards.
The Oscars are basically American national awards for themselves.
You're not going to be able to make a better pizza than an Italian chef. You're not going to be able to make a better sushi than a Japanese chef. Will you make better khichdi than a Japanese chef? Right? So I want you to taste my food. We are making cinema that we are proud of.
In fact, it has been 2 decades since an Indian feature film featured in the Oscars International Film category.
All these years, for much of its history, they've been just awarding their own films, and this one tiny category, Best Foreign Language Film, had the entire world frothing at the mouth to get into the Oscars.
This and more. Streaming on News9 Plus. News is now content. Subscribe and get free vouchers.
Welcome back. You're watching News9 Live. With the conflict between Israel and Hamas now in its 7th month, domestic waste across the Gaza Strip has been piling up. Some municipalities have been left with little choice but to find new dumping grounds. And the health of children as domestic waste piles up is a major concern over there.
Abu Mohammed walks past a makeshift landfill, less than 500 feet from his home in central Gaza. With the conflict between Israel and Hamas now in its 7th month, domestic waste has been piling up. Some municipalities have been left with little choice but to find new dumping grounds, like this. Mohammed says the dump's proximity to his home has him worrying about the health of his family.
This street was completely empty. We did not suffer like this before. The municipality used to be active, but after the war and the aggression that occurred, it ceased its operations. This waste here has brought diseases. Our children are suffering from various ailments that we have never seen before, such as skin pimples and rashes. Personally, I returned from the clinic just an hour ago. There were numerous cases, including my child, who had a fever. The doctor said that it was the result of the pollution here.
Yusuf Hamad is a municipality worker. The area is not a designated dumping zone, he says, but there was little choice after road blockages stopped them from reaching the official landfill. Hamad also warned of the environmental hazard it poses. It could attract insects and stray animals, he says, and could potentially contaminate the groundwater. Aid agencies warned in February that the majority of people had no access to clean drinking water, and that sanitation services were wholly ineffective. with none of Gaza's wastewater treatment systems working.
Now, when it comes to the West Asian conflict, will diplomacy actually achieve what it set out to do? Will there be a truce? Will there be a hostage deal? That's $1 million question. Meanwhile, Turkey has announced that it's halting its own trade with Israel, which is worth $7 billion a year, until a permanent ceasefire and humanitarian aid are secured in Gaza.
Turkey has become the first of Israel's key partners to halt trade over the conflict in Gaza. Trade Minister Omar Bolat said on Friday Ankara would not resume the trade with Israel until a permanent ceasefire and humanitarian aid for Gaza are secured. This was Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan.
Tüm Batı İsrail'e çalışıyor.
All of the West is working for Israel. Starting with America, they are all working for Israel. All of these means are being mobilized to unfortunately condemn the waifs and strays, the poor and the have-nots of Palestine, to death in the face of Israel's bombs. We could not have remained patient in the face of these, so we took our steps. There was a trade volume of $9.5 billion between us.
Israel's Foreign Minister Israel Katz criticized the suspension, saying it breaks international trade agreements and calling it how a dictator behaves. The militant group Hamas, which rules Gaza, praised the decision as brave and supportive of Palestinian rights. Last month, Turkey curbed exports of steel, fertilizer and jet fuel, among other products, over what it said was Israel's refusal to allow Ankara to take part in aid drops over Gaza. All remaining trade is now halted. Turkey has denounced Israel's military campaign in Gaza and sent thousands of tons of aid for Gazans. This week it said it would join South Africa's genocide case against Israel at the International Court of Justice. Turkey's commercial ties with Israel have prompted a domestic backlash and hurt the ruling AK party in local elections in March. Turkish exporters with firm orders are now looking for ways to send their goods to Israel via third countries, 4 export company owners told Reuters. They said the decision had caught them by surprise.
And even as we wrap this edition up, an important update for all the viewers out there. The Prime Minister is going to be in Ramnagri, Ayodhya today. Ladies and gentlemen, his schedule includes a visit to the revered Ramlala temple, followed by a grand roadshow. The Prime Minister is expected to spend a total of about 2 hours in the city, starting with a 15-minute darshan at Ramlala's court. After paying his respects, the roadshow will kick off from Sugriv Fort near Ram Janmabhoomi Path, covering a 2-kilometer stretch to Lata Mangeshkar Chowk. Security measures are in place along the Sultanpur Ayodhya and Lucknow Gorakhpur highways in anticipation of the Prime Minister's arrival. He is scheduled to arrive at Ayodhya Airport at 6:40 p.m. via his helicopter, where he will then proceed to Ram Janmabhoomi, the temple, Sanctum Sanctorum. Following the roadshow, he will depart for Bhubaneswar, Odisha at about 8:40 p.m. All this, he's going to be accompanied by the UP Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath as well.
पहले इसके आया हूँ, वहाँ पर मैंने आपसे चर्चा की थी। हम सब प्रयासरत हैं कि पूरा मंदिर 30 दिसंबर 2024 तक पूरा हो जाए।
How do you fulfill that promise? Because ultimately expectations have to be met. If you look at the political landscape, is it really changing for women? And what is the inability of the forces that dead bodies surface, but not the living people?
The football is mother of all games.
It is a team sport.
The leadership attitude is taking the ownership.
It's always a big responsibility to take decisions and the right decisions.
I always question the stereotypical.
And that's why you are in that position.
This and more. Streaming on News9 Plus. Subscribe and get free vouchers.
luxury is now becoming a need rather than something that you aspire to be. So that is adding a lot of fuel. Obviously, government has played a vital role in it.
In a city like Mumbai, a